and fancy sitters of all verses. Are you prepared even now for the greatest verses of goat and fish? This is Goat versus Fish! In the beginning, there was Goat versus Fish, the goat fish. And Goat versus Fish said that there should be goat and that there should be fish. There is no alpha or omega. There is no black or white. There is no good or evil. There is only goat and fish, and goat versus fish. Welcome to the Goat vs. Fish podcast, recorded at the world-famous Comedy Store, Los Angeles, a place of Goat vs. Fish. You are beholding the wonders of Goat vs. Fish, and Goat vs. Fish is beholding the wonders of you. You have many questions, yes. Who is Goat vs. Fish? What is Goat vs. Fish? Why is Goat vs. Fish? But there is only one question. Are you goat? Or are you fish? A goat is a goat in all goat. A fish is a fish in all fish. Who shall triumph, the goat or the fish? Let us find out on this verses of Goat versus Fish. This verses, Goat versus Fish, speaks to a one, speaks to another one. And what do the ones call this one? What do the ones call this one?
Are you speaking to me?
Yes, Goat versus
What
Fish
is my name? Is
this...
that what you're asking me?
The name, yes, that is what the ones do call it, yes. They call it things that are not goat or fish, yes. What do the ones call this one, yes?
Tuesday Thomas.
It is called Tuesday Thomas. Welcome to Goat versus Fish.
It's funny because it's not the first time I've been called an it.
Is that so? Is that so?
Yeah, do you refer to everybody as it? Is that your thing?
Yes, Goat versus Fish does communicate with the ones in that way, yes. There's only goat and fish and Goat versus Fish.
So Goat versus Fish is kind of gender fluid. There's no gender.
That does sound almost like a fish when you do speak of the sea, when you do speak of the fluid of the sea, yes. But
things on land don't have fluid?
Well, if it is a goat and it does claim to have part of the sea within it, then that could be the claim of that goat. It is for the goat to say.
What about the blood and saliva and things? Isn't that fluid?
Are they part of a goat?
I would assume so if it's an animal. Is the goat an animal?
A goat is a goat, yes. A goat is a goat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, if there are parts of the goat that seem like they are fish, then it may seem like it is a fish. Of course, it is all goat. It is all goat if it is goat.
But it doesn't have blood and saliva and
perhaps
urine
does.
And all those fluids that everything else has?
Perhaps it does. Goat versus Fish has not yet met a goat that has claimed to have it, as you do say, but perhaps it does.
The goats talk to you then?
Yes. Many goat have spoken to Goat versus Fish.
You've never dissected one to see it.
Goat versus Fish has spoken to many goat and fish to find out what is within those goat and
How do
fish,
you know
if
they're
that
not
is what
lying
you are
to you?
speaking. Goat versus Fish does trust the goat and fish, does trust the goat and fish.
Oh, see, that could be a big downfall.
You think so? You think so?
I think there are plenty of things out there that would lie to you.
What about this one? Would this one lie to Goat versus Fish?
I have no time to lie.
No
time to lie whatsoever. I'm too curious about how things work. And I just am like trying to wrap my head around the human nature.
You are trying to understand the ones. Goat versus Fish is speaking to the ones to try to understand them as well, yes.
Yeah.
That is why Goat versus Fish is speaking to you now.
To try to understand the ones. I am one.
Yes, you are. Yes. Well, Goat versus Fish
like number
and
one,
this one
or just one of the one?
You are one of the ones, yes.
So I could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 43.
Do you claim to be it?
No, I'm curious as to how you see it.
You are one of the ones. Yes, you are one of the ones. There are many ones. Yes, there are many kinds of ones.
So
Yes.
is this like a computer binary thing? There are many ones and many twos, and that's what forms our whatever language that you're speaking?
GoatVsFish has met ones that seem to be threes. Yes, they did call themselves a triplets. They did call themselves. It seemed to be one that was a three, but three that was one. Yes, it was very fascinating to GoatVsFish.
I'm having a little bit of deja vu from the time I was accosted on Hollywood Boulevard and dragged into the Scientology Center for a free test.
Is that
this
so?
something similar? Are you going to make me hold some electrodes, or what are you going to do?
Do you wish to hold the goat and fish?
Not at this point, because I don't know. I don't know what's inside them. They look a little scruffy, too.
Yes. It
looks like they've been held a lot.
They have seen many verses.
What are verses?
The verses. What are verses?
Are verses like somebody's hands, or is that like what you call legs? Because I don't know where people have held them.
Verses of a goat and fish. When a goat and fish do come together, yes, they may verses one another in many ways. But if you wish to say that many have held these goat and fish, it is so. It is so.
Okay, that's what I mean. I don't know if they've held them with their hands or other body parts, so I'm just don't wish to touch them at the moment.
Is that so? Well, that is as well. That is as well. You do not have to touch them. GoatVsFish is simply saying that if you wished, you could. You could, yes.
You know, I'm pretty unrecruitable in these kind of... I don't understand. Are you like a religion, or are you just... What's the dealio, as the kids say nowadays?
I am GoatVsFish,
mm-hmm.
and this is GoatVsFish. Now, some have claimed, they say, it is a religion, it is GoatVsFish. Others do say, it is a philosophy, it is GoatVsFish. But this is all what the others have claimed. Some claim it is called a thing that is called comedy, some do say.
What do you claim?
GoatVsFish.
That's
GoatVsFish is only here to say that it is GoatVsFish.
In the beginning, you said that you created Goat and Fish.
GoatVsFish did not say that.
Okay, how was the wording? I guess I misinterpreted it.
That is as well. It is your first time speaking with GoatVsFish in this way, though it is not the first time GoatVsFish has spoken.
No, we have done things together.
Yes, it is.
I don't know how to put it. Where I don't know as if your listeners understand me or understand you. So it's a little hard for me to speak right now. I'm trying to figure this all out. So at any rate, yes. Okay, in the beginning.
In the beginning, there was GoatVsFish, the goatfish. And GoatVsFish said that there should be goat and that there should be fish.
Okay. So that was like in the Bible, they said on the first day God created. So in the beginning, was the very beginning, there's goat versus fish.
Yes.
Okay. And then it was either goat fish or fish goat.
In the beginning, there was GoatVsFish, the goatfish.
The goatfish.
Yes.
Okay, so if that's the case, when was that towel around your neck invented, and who invented that?
Yes.
That's what I want to know.
You are speaking of towels, yes?
Yeah, so you have a towel around your neck. So I want to know where that came into play. Was that something either a goat invented, a fish invented, or
it is
created,
it is something that the fence sitter has invented, if you wish to call it that. Yes, many fence sitters who choose neither goat nor fish, they do accuse GoatVsFish of having
You don't
towels.
consider that a towel?
This is GoatVsFish. This is all GoatVsFish. All you see before you is GoatVsFish.
So it doesn't come off. It's all part of it. It's like fused on you or something.
It is GoatVsFish.
Okay.
It is GoatVsFish. Many wish to know the secrets of GoatVsFish, what is deep within GoatVsFish, but it is simply GoatVsFish.
Well, just be careful when you walk home late at night, because you kind of are the kind that they would want to, put some chloroform in a cloth and end up dissecting you somewhere to figure out what is inside of you.
They are curious about GoatVsFish.
Yes, with a smile on your face, you say that. I wouldn't be smiling if I was worried about people dissecting me in their basement.
GoatVsFish Hollywood. This one. GoatVsFish will be careful. We'll be careful.
Yeah,
yes.
Please do.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you goat or are you fish?
I really don't know how to answer that. I mean, I'm nothing and I'm everything. You can be nothing and everything, and I'm neither nor. I'm what I am at the moment that I am.
And in this moment, as you do call it, yes, are you goat or fish? It does not need to be goat or fish for all the verses, but now.
Well, I don't know
are you
enough
goat or
about what
fish?
you consider a goat and what you consider a fish to be able to choose.
Goat versus fish
Yeah.
understands. Yes, you are pondering.
I'm more of a honey badger with a huge libido. I don't give a shit.
So one that calls itself a honey badger with a huge libido
Yeah.
is also one that does not give a shit. Is this so?
Right? I don't care about many things.
Well, it sounds like perhaps you sit on the fence. It sounds like you could be a fence sitter that chooses neither goat nor fish.
It depends on the fence. I mean, if it's barbed wire, I'm certainly not going to be sitting on it, but I've sat on a few. It depends on their makeup.
Yes, it seems so.
And how much weight they can carry.
Well, it seems to be carrying you, for you do sit on the fence,
Is that
choosing
what
neither. That is so.
So in this universe of goat versus fish,
yes.
I would have to either be a goat or be a fish. Now, the question I have now is, the way you're asking me which one I am, you're assuming that I already know what a goat is and what a fish is. Because you're not telling me anything about what a goat is or what a fish is. You're not describing that to me. So you're working under the assumption that I already know.
Goat versus fish has said that a goat is versus a fish and a fish is versus a goat.
Are there certain traits that go with it? Like, people believe in their horoscope and they believe they're Geminis, so they're flighty and they can't make decisions when in reality they're just bipolar pieces of crap.
There are some that claim that they are goat or fish because some other thing did tell them that they were a goat or a fish, but this is not what goat versus fish is trying to find out about this one.
Right.
The goat or fish, they come from within you. It is for you to say what is goat and what is fish because you are a goat or a fish.
I see. Still not getting this shit, but I'll roll.
Oh, you wish
to
to
learn
continue?
more. Yeah, sure. Why
Yes,
not?
yes.
We're here. What the hell?
Yes,
I'll
we
try
are.
anything once.
Let us speak. Let us come to know this one, and as this one is to be known by goat versus fish, then we shall understand goat versus fish. Let us speak of past verses, yes?
And now, what's a verse again? Is this just goat versus fish, fish versus goat? Is that what the verses is?
Yes.
Okay.
But there are verses of many name, as you do call them, yes? And one is the verses of the freak show, yes? It is a verses of a freak show, and goat versus fish wishes to thank this one, even though it seems it sits on the fence, because this one has invited goat versus fish to spread the verses of goat versus fish to many ones at not one, but two of the freak shows,
Freak
yes?
show.
Yes,
FreakShowLA.com. Yeah, the wild, wacky, dark, twisted, strange variety show that I run monthly in Vegas and every other month here in LA. Yes, you have been. I still don't know what word to use. You've been in the show. I don't really want to say performer because I think that might insult you because I think you weren't really like performing. Were you performing?
I am simply being goat versus fish.
That's it.
Yes.
And when you were at our, we did a sold out show in San Francisco and you were a part of that show, and earlier in the day you went to Hippie Hill on 420 and made it on the news.
It is so. They did witness goat versus fish, and they did spread the verses of goat versus fish.
And the newscaster who's there every 420, because I lived in San Francisco, so I remember the yearly reports. It's the same guy, which his name has escaped me, but I remember seeing you a clip from that, and he was talking about all the weirdos and
people
Golden
Gate
Park, people behaving badly, and all the weirdos and what they were doing, and they saw you, and it's the first time I've ever seen him go, and I don't know what the hell this guy was about. I don't know what the hell this guy was doing.
Yes, but it beheld goat versus fish and wanted to share goat versus fish. It knew that
Shared it through the airwaves. Now, is that something you can can you mesmerize people on TV? Because, what was that from? Oh my gosh, wasn't it Futurama that had the Hypno Frog or whatever it was, the Hypno Toad?
That sounds like
you have a similar quality to the Hypno Toad that you can just be your face on TV and everybody's going to either magically at once announce that they're a goat or a fish or run to a fence and sit on it.
Goat versus fish does not suspect as much. No, goat versus fish simply sees that the ones are learning of goat versus fish. Yes, they are learning of goat versus fish. Perhaps they will see that they are a goat or they are a fish simply by hearing goat versus fish. Some simply hear goat versus fish and they say, I am a goat without even goat versus fish asking them. Yes, some
Do you
do
think
it.
they actually believe that they're that, or they're just like, I need to appease this guy because I got to get away?
There are some who say, oh, I will be a fish because I want goat versus fish to go away because if I say I am a fish. If one wishes not to speak to goat versus fish, they need only say, I do not wish to speak to goat versus fish. And then goat versus fish will find another versus.
Yeah, you're not a pushy person whatsoever. I just wondered if you'd... I would assume that you had come across that a few times in your illustrious career.
It is so. It is so. Yes, many tell goat versus fish many things. Yes, for many reasons they call them. Yes, but goat versus fish wants it to come from within. Wants it to come from within.
See, that's what I was talking about before. You say they tell you stuff for many reasons other than what comes from within. If those are called lies.
Oh, is that so?
That's what a lie is.
Goat versus fish.
If it doesn't come from the within, it's not the truth.
Goat versus fish thought that a lie, as you do call it, is simply a goat that is saying that it is a fish, or a fish that is saying it is a goat in order to deceive the goat and fish in the mighty verses.
That's it. Same thing.
Well, it is a verses.
If they're telling you they're a fish because they want to get the hell away from you, that's a lie. So some people are going to be like, whatever, go. Some people, so do you actually think that when people are watching you and listening to you and stuff, I mean, you're highly entertaining.
Thank you.
The crowds love you, and I watch them, and I think they legitimately are into you. I'm not sure, though, if they're learning. Do you think they're learning something about themselves?
Goat versus fish thinks they are learning, at least if they are a goat or a fish, for they've been asked the question.
And that's the only thing that matters to you, right? People finding out which one they are. That's the important thing. That's the issue for you.
There is only one question. Are you goat or are you fish?
Or are you a fence sitter? There's 3 questions. Are you a goat? Are you a fish? Or are you...
Fence sitters. Yes, the fence sitters. Now, would you say that you, be you goat or fish, are a freaky one? Do you describe oneself as a freak, as the ones call it?
Oh, yes, I'm definitely a freak. Freaks come in all shapes and sizes. And I'm actually what they call a freak magnet, okay? People who are weird and strange are attracted to me. They come right up to me. I have many, many illustrations of this throughout my life. I remember being married and living in Las Vegas and walking down Fremont Street, my mother on one side, my husband at the time on the other, and this crackhead guy comes up out of nowhere, sticks his face in mine and says, oh my God, how are you? I haven't seen you in ages. How you been? Oh my God, it's so good to see you. And runs off. And my husband's like, how do you know him? What's going on? How do you know? It always happens to you. These weirdos come up to you. And my mother just says, you need to calm down. If you're going to be married to her and with her, you have to realize she's a freak magnet. She's been that way since she was a little child. If there's a weirdo around, they're going to come up to her. And my close friends have witnessed it many other times in many situations. And that's my lot. So I've accepted that. So I must have a freaky quality because, you attract what you are, what you need and stuff. So yes, freak is the perfect word. Thus the show.
So it is called, yes. Now, what would make a freaky goat or fish different from a goat or fish that is not freaky?
Everybody has, I think there's a little bit of freak in everything.
Is that
so?
But
I'm still confused as to what a goat really is or what a fish is because you haven't really described that to me, what a goat is or what a fish is. So in order for me to answer what would make them a freaky one, I would have to understand what the fuck they are to begin with.
Well, then perhaps we can speak of the ones that are yet to choose goat or fish, yes? What of the freaky ones, as you did say, yes? What makes this one call itself a freak, yes? And how is it different from one that would not be called a freak?
That's an interesting question. I don't know as if there's like a one difference. I'm sure there's many little differences. I'm attracted to more of the weird and dark and twisted humors. The original movie Carrie is like my personal Rocky Horror. I know every line to that and laugh hysterically throughout it. I mean, I laugh at horror movies. I'm still scared at a lot of them, but it comes out as laughter.
It is seeming
So-
difficult for you to say exactly what it is that the ones do call a freak, even though you do call yourself it.
There's
Even
men-
as
no,
you
no,
accuse
it's-
Goat versus Fish of not
No.
knowing what is a goat or a fish.
No, I did answer that. I said there's many different qualities to it. You haven't even given me one quality to what makes a fish or a goat. And I've explained that to become a freak, there's many different qualities. And I started to say things like, why I'm considered and with the horror movies and stuff. So you're a little judgy right now there, Mr. GVH or GVF.
Thank you, yes.
You like being judgy? Is that a compliment to you?
It is when you said GVH, but then you did say GVF. Yes, thank you for referring to Goat versus
Yeah.
Fish as GVF, Goat versus Fish. Thank you, yes.
You're welcome.
Now, in the verses of the freak show, yes, some do sing in celebration, yes, some do joke in celebration, yes. Goat versus Fish has found that some even do harm their very selves, yes, they do swallow what appears to be a long, sharp fence, yes, or they do puncture their very goat and fish selves with tiny fences, yes, or staples, they do call them, yes. What sort of verses is this, that a goat or fish would do harm to itself, yes? Would that not impair it in future verses? Why do these ones harm themselves in this way?
That's their thing. That's their freaky quality. That's their innate wanting to entertain and being able to do that. Putting huge meat hooks up their nose and out their mouth and piercing needles through their cheeks and sword swallowing and taking a tennis racket and being able to light it on fire and walk, put it through your entire body without burning yourself. And, that's their thing. That's where they find their, for lack of a better word, their peace, their zen, their either goat or fishness, I guess.
That would be pleasant to Goat versus Fish. It is just strange to Goat versus
Which would be
Fish.
pleasant? Piercing yourself or the tennis racket on fire or...
Pleasant if they were finding their very inner goat or fish
Oh,
through
okay.
whatever verses, yes. Now, some would use these methods of verses, these piercings, as you do call it. Some very aggressive goat and fish would say that they would use this very verses to do harm to, if it is a fish, that they would use this verses to do harm to a goat, using this fire, as you do call it, or this piercing, yes? They would use it in that way, and yet these ones do it to themselves, yes?
Mm-hmm.
This is curious to Goat versus Fish.
Really?
Yes.
So you don't understand that kind of self-flagellation type thing.
Goat versus Fish is trying to understand it. That is why
Okay.
Goat versus Fish is speaking to this one, yes?
I think they do it. That's just like I said. That's a peaceful thing. It's something that they can do, and that it's a wonder, and it makes people respect them. It makes people want to see them. They want to show off their abilities, much as yourself walking in your oneness outfit here through Hippie Hill on 420 or wherever else you go.
The verses of 420 goat and fish. There were many goat and fish there. Many
Mhm.
goat and fish, yes.
What does a goat versus fish eat? What is your diet like? Do you eat fish? Do you eat goat?
Goat versus Fish consumes offerings that have been given to Goat versus Fish by the ones, yes. They say, here, Goat versus Fish, here, consume this, yes. And Goat versus Fish does see that if it is not too fence-sitterly, yes, then Goat versus Fish will consume it, and it will become
So if
part
I
of
gave
Goat
you a
versus
piece of
Fish.
salmon stuffed with goat jerky, you would eat it?
If you made this offering to Goat versus Fish suspects that Goat versus Fish would consume it, yes.
Oh, okay. And don't you find that a little cannibalistic?
I am Goat versus Fish, yes.
So you basically you don't mind eating your own kind.
Well, there are many goat that claim to consume fish, and many fish that claim to consume goat, yes.
Yes,
They
but
derive
that's
power
them.
and strength, yes.
Yeah, but that's them because they're one or the other. You're both.
And neither, yes.
So if you're consuming that, if you're consuming each one, you're going to run out of goat and fish.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. One day you're going to run out and it's just going to be the end and there's going to be no more goats or no more fish.
Goat
because-
versus Fish does not wish it.
So I would be careful of your diet. I would start with some roughage.
And is roughage a goat or a fish?
It's innate.
You do not know if it is a goat or a fish.
I don't think it's either. I don't think it's a fence sitter either because I think from what you're getting at, you'd have to have some free will to be able to decide if you're goat versus fish. And
I am
I
Goat
haven't-
versus Fish.
I
Goat
have-
versus Fish did not ask to be Goat versus Fish, but it is up for the ones to choose if they are goat or fish.
I
It is not for
understand
Goat
that.
versus Fish to say.
But
yes.
Roughage does not have the free will to be able to determine. I haven't walked by any cabbage that have spoken to me, so I can't really say. But
Well, thank you for telling this to Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish shall find a roughage, as you do call it, and ask it if it is a goat or a fish. We shall see.
I
We
might
shall
loosen
see.
you up a little because you seem a little like tight.
You are a fence sitter. It is Goat versus Fish with a fence sitter. Goat versus Fish must be very careful. Yes, beware the
So
fence
I'm a
sitter.
fence sitter,
You have not chosen goat or fish.
but I haven't chosen fence sitter either, and it's up to me to decide.
If you are a goat or a
But
fish.
you told me goat versus fish. Didn't decide those.
Goat versus Fish is not here to say that you are a goat or a fish, only that you are a goat or a fish.
Right.
Yes.
So, because I've alluded the answer, you're telling me that I am a fence sitter, so you've chosen that for me
You have chosen not to choose.
at this point.
Yes, at this versus.
Okay.
Yes, you could choose again at another versus. Yes,
I
of course you
see.
could. Of course you
I think
could.
I'm understanding what verses are.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Yes, thank you. Yes, you are beginning to learn. Yes, yes. Now, at the verses of the freak show, yes, Goat versus Fish has noticed something of this one called Tuesday Thomas. Yes, that you are often changing your onesie. Yes, the ones wear many onesies upon them. Yes, they
My
remove
clothing.
them, they put them on. Yes, yes. Why is it that that you, and it is a marvelous verses to behold. Yes, you are always changing the visage of your very self. Yes. Are you very concerned with how the ones do perceive you, that you are always changing your visage? Yes, changing your onesie?
No, I think it's my thing. I'm kind of I got a nickname. I'm the punk rock Cher of comedy. So I got that nickname. So I mean, I kind of remember that's what Cher used to do in all her concerts and TV shows and stuff. Is she'd always come out in something different every time. A lot of quick costume changes. So I kind of assumed that. And in between each act, I have a new outfit, and they love it. They love it. They don't know what to expect. It keeps that whole freak show is a WTF. Or what the fuck is going to happen? Nobody knows what's going to happen each show. You know, we have the musical comedy, the character driven comedies, the performance art, the weird drag queens, stand up comedy. We
Goat
have
versus Fish?
Yeah, and then we have the sideshow act. So people are like, I don't. It's a what I don't. They go in there because they're like, I don't know what's going to happen. And each show we alternate the lineup. We don't use the same people, so people come back, and that's an added thing. You know, I mean, you have huge video screens behind you. You have the lighting that's going around and the music that's playing, and it's an assault on all of your senses in an amazing way. And so that's just a little addition to that assault on the senses and WTF atmosphere of what's going to come out next. What
And
kind of
sometimes
outfit?
next, yes, yes. That is you as well. It is you as well.
Mhm.
Yes, you are becoming part of your own verses. Yes, it is your verses within and without you.
Yeah,
Yes,
because that's my persona. Nobody knows what the hell is going to happen next with me.
And why do you suppose that you do ask Goat versus Fish? Of course, Goat versus Fish always wishes to spread the verses. Goat versus Fish is simply wondering, yes, you do say that the freaks do come to you. Goat versus Fish only claims to be Goat versus Fish. But how is it that you think that Goat versus Fish is among these ones that you do put in the verses of the freak show, yes? Is Goat versus Fish a freak, as you would say?
Well, Goat versus Fish approached me. And so that kind of goes along with proving the fact that, you know, what I said about being a freak magnet. Goat versus Fish was attracted to the show, the atmosphere, wanting to be a part of it. So
That is so.
I would say then, yes, you are a freak.
And this one that does sit on the fence did say that Goat versus Fish was a freak. And it was written that this one did say that Goat versus Fish was a freak. Yes.
Because Goat versus Fish chose that.
Goat versus Fish did not choose to be Goat versus Fish.
No, Goat versus Fish chose to be a freak because you came to me and wanted to be a part of that. So you made the decision to be part of the freaks.
Goat versus Fish, of course, in the beginning there was Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish has been spreading the verses for many verses. Goat versus Fish cannot help but ponder, yes, that when Goat versus Fish beholds the verses of the freak show, It almost seems that it harkens back to verses past, yes, even as it is a verses of its own. How do the freaky verses of the past inspire the freaky verses that is called the freak show, yes?
It's I guess it's an updated vaudeville type thing for post millennium. I believe everybody has a little freak in them. Some a lot more than others. We have all kinds of different people that come to see the show. Sometimes they're middle-aged housewives and their husbands, and sometimes they're goth or rock and roll or younger. Sometimes they're office workers. All different kinds have come to the show, and everybody loves it. They can relate in some form. And I think they leave feeling good because whatever's gone on in their day that's made them tense or feeling bad about themselves, they can be like, yeah, I can relate to this person a little bit. I can see it. I'm a little bit of a freak like them, but thank God, my life isn't as bad as theirs.
Oh, you think the ones look at you and say that it is pitiable, that they do not wish to be this one?
No, I didn't say pitiable. I said it puts their lives into perspective. They can be a part of it. They can laugh. They can forget their cares and woes or whatever. The routines that I do on stage, talking about my life and the weird things that have happened to me, they can be like, yeah, at least I didn't have it as bad as she did. But even so, she had it bad, and look what she's doing. She got through it. I get a lot of fan mail from all over the world. From some of my TV appearances who are like, Scotland, Hungary, one of the Slovakians.
Yes, you are spreading your verses to many other places, many other lands and
they
seas,
all
yes.
tell me that I'm, what's the word I'm looking for? It just went out of my head. I'm sorry.
Is it goat?
Nope.
Fish?
And it's not fish either, and it's not fence sitter.
Goat versus fish?
I am,
GoatVsFish?
not a role model, but I am. Yeah, you need to shut up with that shit for a second.
Oh, you do not wish GoatVsFish to speak?
Well, I'm trying to think of the word, and now it's out of my head, and you kept saying goat, fish.
And this one did ask GoatVsFish for a pondering, and GoatVsFish shall offer this one a pondering.
Okay, unponder.
Oh, that was it?
No, that wasn't it, but it's good enough for now.
Thank you, yes, thank you, yes.
It'll work.
What do you say to the goat?
I don't. I don't talk to goats or fish. I do not speak their language. I don't know how to speak to a goat or a fish.
And that is what this one has said to the goat. What do you say to the fish?
I do not speak to the fish. I do not speak its language.
What do you say to the fence sitter?
Now, are they sitting on the fence, or is it like a babysitter thing where they're just sitting nearby watching the fence so nothing will happen to the fence? That's where I'm confused with your terminology.
And what do you say to goat versus fish? Thank you for speaking with Goat versus Fish.
We said quite a bit in that silence, didn't we?
Goat versus Fish was looking at this one, and this one was looking at Goat versus Fish. Goat versus Fish has not said this before, yes? But though you do sit on the fence, Goat versus Fish is finding that Goat versus Fish may even see some Goat versus Fish within this one, yes?
Ah.
Goat versus Fish, yes. Goat versus Fish also, yes, wishes to find the ones and wishes to show them all the false verses they need not be concerned with, and to simply ponder Goat versus Fish and simply ponder Goat versus Fish.
Have you found others that are goat versus fish as opposed to just goat or fish or fence sitter? Or is this a newish thing? Am I special?
There are many fence-sitters, yes, they do sit on the fence, and it is usually the fence-sitters that do consider themselves to be special ones. It does seem so, yes. You, of course, you could be GoatVsFish. You could be GoatVsFish. Of course, there is GoatVsFish within all the ones, yes. In this way, all the ones are GoatVsFish. But a goat can be GoatVsFish, a fish can be GoatVsFish, but a goat must find a fish, and a fish must find a goat, and then together they create GoatVsFish. But it cannot be done alone. It cannot be done alone.
So how did you do it if in the beginning it happened to you? You were alone.
I am GoatVsFish, the goatfish, yes. I am GoatVsFish, the goatfish, yes. It is always the fence-sitters who are saying, oh, GoatVsFish, you do seem as a fence-sitter. Would you even accuse GoatVsFish now of sitting on the fence?
That's where I would disagree with them. I will admit that you're not a fence-sitter.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're a lot of things, GoatVsFish, but sitting on a fence is not one of them, so... And that's an admirable quality.
Thank you. Yes, GoatVsFish agrees.
Mm-hmm.
GoatVsFish does agree. Yes, yes. Now, goat, fish, and fence-sitter alike is the verses for celebration of GoatVsFish. Many fence-sitters do not wish to celebrate GoatVsFish so much. But perhaps, if this fence-sitter wishes, yes, you are so strong in your verses of introducing the ones who are about to speak and spread their own word. Yes, you have done it many verses. GoatVsFish has seen it, yes?
Yeah.
GoatVsFish wonders if you would, to introduce GoatVsFish in your own way to all the ones, perhaps, who have never heard of GoatVsFish. What would you say to introduce GoatVsFish?
Hello, fuckers! Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary people, and anything in between, because we love you all. This is Tuesday Thomas from Freak Show. The one, the only show with all the freaks in the world. Now in Vegas, now in San Francisco, and 3 years in LA. Would like to introduce the one, the only, the non-fence sitting thing it is, goat versus fish.
It is goat versus fish. It is goat versus fish. Thank you. Yes, it is goat versus fish. 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 Thank you for being a part of Goat versus Fish.
Oh, no. Thank me. I mean, thank you.
Yes, always thank Goat versus Fish. Always thank Goat versus Fish. Thank you for joining Goat versus Fish. These are the verses of Goat versus Fish. Subscribe, rate, and review the Goat vs. Fish podcast on the iTunes and the YouTube. And if you wish to witness Goat vs. Fish for a live versus that you can participate in at one of the comedy places, find all future verses of Goat vs. Fish at GoatVsFish.com. Follow Goat vs. Fish on all social media, on the Instagram, on the Book of Faces, on the Twitter, all at Goat vs. Fish, all at GoatVsFish, and even on the Twitch. Send your celebrations and send your questions. Send your visages of goat and fish on the Twitterver, on the Instagram. Mention Goat vs. Fish, and Goat vs. Fish may celebrate them on the Goat vs. Fish podcast or on Goat vs. Fish. Join the Goat vs. Fish discussion group on the Book of Faces to discuss Goat vs. Fish with other goat and fish. And when you are out in the land and the sea, look about you. Look about you. Find one who is lost. Find one who does not know the way. And ask. Simply ask. Are you goat? Or are you fish? Are you goat or fish? Are you goat or fish? Thank you for joining these verses of Goat vs. Fish. I am Goat vs. Fish, the GoatVsFish.
Okay. Are they gonna let me out? Is the door gonna unlock itself, or does somebody gotta come in with the keys? Because like it's been 7 hours. I'm really tired and I want to go home.
Would you be willing to take a visage with Goat vs. Fish as an evidence that you did speak here with Goat vs. Fish?
What is a visage?
This one, the Albamani one does take it, yes. That is.
It's just a picture. It's not gonna steal my soul. I'm not gonna have to sign a 1,000,000-year contract to like work for you or anything, right?
Goat vs. Fish would prefer if you chose Goat or Fish.
But a 1,000,000-year contract to work for you is off the table.
Oh, you wish to serve Goat vs. Fish?
No, I don't wish to. I'm asking if I take this picture, is that kind of like signing a contract? There's no strings attached to the picture.
Well, if Goat vs. Fish wishes to be very clear with this one, you must allow Goat vs. Fish to spread this picture, as you do call it, to all the other ones to spread the word of Goat vs. Fish.
Okay, I'm glad you said picture after spread. I don't have any problem with you spreading the picture. I thought you were going to try to spread something else, and I'm just not in the mood.
Spreading the verses of Goat vs. Fish. And it was written, and it was written.
Written.